Hey everybody, it's Riffraff HORNHELM, and I'm back again with another presentation for the Dwarven Vault, and today we have another character review. Now, this is a little different, but I sure enjoy this. I sure hope you do too. Today's character review is really focused on one character from a highly entertaining show that comes with the recommendation from the entire HornhelmClan, clan, and that's called Delicious in Dungeon. This show is out of this world, a very, very different approach to the world of D&D, and it doesn't fit within any of the real established D&D world, so this isn't a 5e show or something like that, but it is readily identifiable as dungeoning, and they certainly approach it that way. It is funny, very entertaining, and very, very original. So this comes to us from Japan, and the team that put this together, I mean, all I can say is domo arigato. This really rocks. It's one of the most fun things I've seen in a long time, and it translates very, very well into Western ways of looking at things. So there's no question in my mind, and certainly not in any of my colleagues' thoughts either, is that we highly, highly recommend watching this very entertaining show. And once again, it's called Delicious in Dungeon. And let's talk about that for a minute, because what we want to focus on now is one specific character within the show. So first off, if you haven't seen the show, at least in North America, it's on Netflix, and 3 of the 4 episodes are currently out. They're short episodes. They're about 30 minutes, I think, and it won't take you long to burn through this. You'll be very disappointed that there isn't more when you get done. So once again, a big thank you to the creators and producers of this show. I really enjoyed it, and so have all of our brothers and sisters within the HornhelmClan. clan. Now, one of the key characters within the show is much beloved to those of us in the HornhelmClan clan, because he is a HornhelmClan clan member. Now that's really special. And that would be SENCHI the dwarf. SENCHI is amazing. And I mean, as you can see here, he's clearly a HornHelm. And of course, as a HornHelm, we're always glad to support our fellow HornHelm brethren in their endeavors to make their way within this crazy world. So our hats off to, well, except me, I won't take it off. It's too shiny. Our hats off to our friend SENCHI, and to the wonderful work that these animators are doing to bring that character forward. Now, we can't claim SENCHI directly. This is an animated show, and this is a creation from a number of people. However, we can tell you a few things about whom we believe SENCHI is modeled after, who's a real HornHelm. But before we get there, let's carry on with SENCHI and talk about him as a character for a review. So, like I said, you got a picture here. You can see what he looks like. And he is a master cook. He's also a pretty damn good fighter, too, I have to say. And he's made it his life's work, well, or at least as it says in the show, the last 10 years, he's made it his work to learn how to catch, prepare, cook, and eat the monsters that live in dungeons, in various dungeons throughout the world. Pretty neat stuff. And he demonstrates this extremely effectively in this show. He is an absolute legend when it comes to doing this. So now you can see what he looks like. He doesn't have any real strange mannerisms other than the fact that he seems to be addicted to eating monsters, which is okay, that's weird. And it's one of the reasons why he wants to be a part of all this, is because another person in the show also is very weirded out when it comes to eating monsters, and is very enthusiastic about it as well. This is a strange show. No two ways about it. Certainly focuses on an area that doesn't receive a lot of attention within D&D, though it has received much more attention during the evolution of the game, particularly during 5e. So I don't want to say that this concept is entirely foreign, but it is presented in such a way that, once again, it's highly entertaining. There's a lot of good cracks and jokes in here, and I did not at any point feel that this was moving too slowly. And SENCHI is a consummate dwarf. He's absolutely a perfect Hornhelm. He's a little bit crazy, and he has a little bit crazy outlook on life, but a fair one. And he is really good at two things that dwarves appreciate. He's good at food, and us dwarves love food. Not as much as drink, but still, lots of food. And he's also really good at fighting. He is a kick-ass fighter, and he takes on his enemies and just chops them to pieces. Another great dwarven axe wielder, proud to call him a family member. So, on the weighting side, in terms of how we're going to weight this one way or the other, let's talk about what we know so far about his epic successes. Well, clearly his epic success is cooking. This wonderful dwarven brother of ours has managed to find ways to take some of the most unappealing monsters and ingredients and turn them into the most awesome dishes to eat. Absolutely incredible. Amazing. And, of course, very cost efficient. And if you're a dwarf, being cost efficient is important. You get good food out of this, and it costs next to nothing. And, of course, dwarves are a little bit familiar with eating some weird stuff. I mean, if you've ever been to a dwarven party where you have, the dip is made out of flaked rust monster and mixed with cream cheese, and it's very tasty, I have to tell you. I really enjoy that. So we're not totally newbies when it comes to this, but he goes to the most extreme lengths with the most extreme ingredients, and it's awesome. So on the epic success side, when we talk about it with our fellow Hornhelms, we're so impressed with this guy. We gave him a 9 out of 10. We think his successes are just fantastic. Of course, to go along with every epic success, there are some epic failures. And his epic failures, in SENCHI's case, have more to do with a pattern rather than necessarily a single epic fail. And of course, for those of you who have been watching the show, and if you haven't, you may wait to see, may want to watch the show before I tell you this part. He's not exactly the person you want to have around if there's traps. He is very straightforward, shall we say, and sometimes that can be good and sometimes not so good. And in this particular case, he kind of proves time after time that being around traps is nothing but a bad idea with him, because he tends to set them off no matter what. So, on the epic fail side, the fact that you are in an underground dungeon, irrespective of whatever other skills you may have, that you seem to have a propensity for setting out traps, well, that's a pretty epic fail. So, from our standpoint, not quite as bad as the, or quite as numerically superior as the epic successes, but we still think it's a 7. And he sounds like kind of a dangerous person to travel with. So, on the basis of what we know so far, a 9 for his epic success, a 7 for his epic failure. What do we think about him overall? Well, overall, we think he rocks. We loved listening to him. The dialogue was great. The fact that he's a poor, sad dwarf who's abused because of really only one reason, and that's the fact that he likes to eat monsters, is very appealing to us dwarves. It called out to our heartstrings. Hey, there's no two ways about it. We thought that was great. Having said that, would we have him in our party? Well, that's a very, very tough choice. Some of us who vote with our stomachs will say yes. Some of us who vote with our hit points would say, yeah, maybe not. Seeing as he has a chance it seems a relatively good chance of setting off traps, I'm not sure that we necessarily want him in the party. But still, our overall impression of him is an 8. So 24 is your aggregate score, which is a very high score. And we really think that the SENCHI character is awesome. We think he rocks. And we look forward to seeing the next episode, which unfortunately is the last one. But hopefully there'll be more seasons. Now, one important thing that we haven't spoken about yet is, well, why are we excited and thinking that, well, this comes from somebody we know? Well, that's pretty easy. That's because that's what we think. We think that SENCHI is modeled after I'm not sure if it's famous or infamous HORNHELM, and that would be Stu HORNHELM. And he didn't spend 10 years learning, he spent 100 years learning how to cook monsters. And he did it because he came from a very, very poor family, and really he would take out his small crossbow and go hunt for stuff, and pretty much whatever they got when they hunted was what went into the stew pot. And it tasted so bad, and in some cases would make them sick, that he learned how to cook them better, what were the right ones to get, what you could use from the plants that lived underground to make this taste good and make it edible. And of course, that took time. In the meantime, his parents, who were, well, like yesterday's coffee, a bit weak in the bean, they were not exactly the most intelligent or wise dwarfs out there. The father, he worked in the kitchens. He was the fire master. He would bring in the coal and the wood and keep the fire going for the main kitchen and so forth that looked after the royal family. And his mother would sit and make bread all day. They didn't talk a whole lot, and when he was born, there was a little bit of confusion before they settled on a name. First they called him Rock, and then somebody said to her dad to throw me a rock and threw the kid instead. I mean, this kind of stuff. So they eventually settled on Stew because it was something they recognized from the kitchen, but it wasn't something that either of them interacted with very much. So there was less likely to have something bad happen to Stew. And Stu grew up on the gleanings of food that he was able to get from his mother and father, who swiped them from the kitchen, and from occasionally either buying or finding food when he was out and about. But over time, because he was adding to the stew pot by whatever he could find, using his small little crossbow to take it down, whatever the target was, and then add it to the stew. Well, like I said, over time, he learned. He became a great cook. And he eventually moved to the dwarvish kingdoms that were underneath some of the parts that the humans called modern-day Asia. And it was there that really the legend was born, and Stu became a very famous cook, able to take anything and make it into a wonderful food. So we believe that Stu was the model for SENCHI. And as that, and as HORNHELMs, we're deeply, deeply honored. And we also think that SENCHI rocks. So that's why we think that the HORNHELM family tree was actually where the roots for the actual SENCHI came from. So if you haven't watched this show, do so. You're really missing out on it. Once again, Netflix in North America, I don't know about the rest of the world, but it's worth looking into. Delicious in Dungeon. And we're really looking forward to seeing that very soon. And we hope you enjoyed the show today. If you did, subscribe. Doesn't cost anything. Give us a whirl. Remember to give us a like. Tell your friends. And if you enjoyed, come back and see us again real soon. And remember, dwarves rock!